Welcome to Secrets of Stand-Up Comedy. I'm Dick Williams. I'm going to tell you everything I know about stand-up so you can be a better comedian. A couple things. I uploaded the next 5 episodes onto the podcast. Again, I'm going back from the beginning of this channel, putting it onto the podcast. I'm doing 10 a week, so you can take my glorious voice with you wherever you go, because it's probably easier. I still want you to watch the videos. I mean, I wore this nice cardigan. And also, I heard something to me that's kind of crazy. It's nice. I guess Ralphie May mentioned me in one of his memoirs that came out after he passed away. So I'm going to have to pick that up. A comic told me about it. Ralphie was a great guy. I knew him and his wife, Lana. I didn't know Lana as well, and I wasn't super tight with Ralphie, but he was super tight, and I was super tight with the same group of people. And I was the audience warm-up comic when he was on Last Comic Standing. I remember during a break, he said something to me, and I go, I think he said that I went somebody said that I went Hollywood, or I don't remember, but I looked at Ralphie and I go, yeah, you went North Hollywood. And he looked at me and he goes, you went West Hollywood. And I was like, you won that round, Ralphie, you son of a gun. So I want to talk to you about, I had one plan for this video. Excuse me for a second. I'm not editing this. Sometimes my throat gets parched. Excuse me. I saw something on Facebook today that was very alarming, and I wanted to get more information, and so that's the basis of this video for today. About an hour and a half, maybe an hour from where I live. I always think that it's further, and I'm not going to say the town. I don't want to, because I don't know all of the details, but there's a performance place that also does an open mic once a week for the comics. And it's a small city in upstate New York. And apparently, within the last couple of weeks, a comic who lives in another state, he's from another scene, he came back home for the holidays, had his mom and family and friends, because he's from that area, all show up to the open mic. And while he was on stage, he was talking about whatever he talks about. The general manager cut the mic off or took the mic and said, I don't know how they do it where you're doing it, but we don't do that here, and yelled at him and told him he needs to apologize to his mother, who was in the audience. And so I'm reading all this. I'm like, what in the world could he have possibly said that was so offensive? So I got more details. I emailed the comic back or messaged him, and instead of typing back and forth, I gave him my initial thought, which was to test my own principles. I have to imagine that the comic said something that I would personally find vile, something disgusting, something that goes against everything that I believe in, to test my principles, because even given that, I would still support his right to say it, and his right to say it at an open mic. And that's kind of how you have to judge things. You have to put yourself in a position of, okay, I'm the one who's really upset by what this person said. Will I still defend it? And the answer is yes. The answer is always yes, as long as they're not breaking the law. One of the things I detest, especially when it comes from other comics, is censorship. So if a comic went on stage and was saying that we need to censor certain things, I would hate that. I would push back against it, but I wouldn't try to get them silenced, because that would be the ultimate irony, that I'm against censorship, so I'm going to censor this person. So the comic that brought this to my awareness, he's saying to all the local comics, look, if you keep going to that mic, I'm going to make it uncomfortable for you. And it wasn't like anything physical, no violence or anything. And so he's trying to rally the troops out there. And he wants this. It's not the owner of the place. It's a nonprofit, tax-exempt place that gets money, grants. But it's a place for the arts. And he wants this guy fired. And I said, that, first of all, I want to hear his side of the story. And it's not like this guy reached out to me. He just happened to post something, and then I took an interest because I'm interested in things that are stand-up related. But I said, hey, maybe you can all work it out. I don't like to see people get fired. Maybe he can apologize if that's even in him, if he even considers that something that he should do. And then when I heard more of the story, I was like, oh, this comic didn't say anything offensive. The person that runs it is highly sensitive. And if that's the case, again, I don't know all the details. I don't know the other side of the story. I guess there's video of it. And I'm not trying to make this a bigger deal. I'm trying to use this as an example for you in your scene. I just thought, you're going to not only censor a comic at a place that gets grant money from the state and from the government that has arts in the name of your venue? Nah, that ain't cool. And so I told this comic, we just spoke on the phone, I said, here's what you got to do. And he's already doing a lot of this stuff. But I said, you have to tell every comic in your scene that they are the product. A room is literally just that. It's a room that can sell beer and wine and liquor, that has a microphone, a light, chairs for audience members, 4 walls and a door. Without, simmer down, bingo. Without the comics, I guess this is their busiest night too at this place, which is really, it's short-sighted on this general manager's part to cut off his nose to spite his face over literal nonsense. Like the things that I heard the comic was talking about, it's so benign. And it was funny as well, but it's nothing like, it wasn't racial slurs, it wasn't misogynistic. Again, any of that stuff is fine with me too. As long as you're not breaking the law, you should be able to explore taboo topics. But he wasn't even doing that. And so I said, yeah, you got to sit down with all the comics, try to do it face-to-face, because the internet, I don't like that stuff. You got to talk to people one-on-one. Have the local comics and the open micers be able to vent out in an environment that is willing to listen. You can't shout at each other and all that. Just have a healthy discussion. And you got to boycott a place like that, in my opinion, based on what I know. Because let's say that you give up or you give in and you let this one person in your scene that's a general manager of a venue, if you conform to that person's comedy tastes or how they see the world, you're setting the whole scene back in your area. You're allowing somebody who's not even a comic to dictate your craft, what you believe in, what you find funny. For what? You shouldn't allow that on principle, but on top of it, the venue could go away in a month. They could say, yeah, we're not doing an open mic anyways. That happened here in my area, in Albany. Not because of any strife. They just decided not to do open mics there anymore. They decided not to do comedy there anymore. So imagine giving in. And there may be some comics that still go there and kind of cross the picket line, so to speak. I advise against that. because you're selling yourself out, not even for anything, for stage time, but because it's dealing with our dreams as performers and comics. We're so desperate sometimes to have our dreams fulfilled. And I mean, I don't blame you. You've done all this work. You have a good act. You're getting better. You want to work on it. You're watching these videos. I'm giving you these tips on what to do. You want to go try it out. And the best place in town is saying, okay, but you have to do it this way. So it's not a tough call for me, but I could see it being a tough call for some comics. But grow a backbone. Because without those comics, it's just a room. It goes back to my theory of the really expensive, fashionable nightclubs that I would see in Los Angeles with the velvet rope, the VIP list, and all the beautiful ones going in, and there's a long line for the rest of us. And I would say to people, why don't we just pick a dive bar and make that the place to be? Because it's the people that we're interested in being around. It's not the lighting. I mean, yeah, that's nice, but it's not worth a $20 cover and a $15 beer. So there's times to take a stand. And what could be more important than the integrity of your local scene? You have to support each other. Because as soon as people start splintering off and negotiating these side deals, it's going to cause so much strife and really destroy the whole community. There's going to be arguments, people not talking to each other, people trying to sabotage each other's careers. You don't want to get involved in any of that. And who is this general manager to dictate what is okay and what is not okay? Here's the one caveat I will say to that, which is a venue has the absolute right to say, these are the rules of our venue. You either follow them or you don't perform. It's their venue. We have freedom of speech, but we can't go into a private business and just start saying whatever the hell we want. So yeah, they are absolutely justified in saying, even if they make up the rule on the spot, right to refuse. They can just say, get out. I don't think they should humiliate people when they're on stage in front of their mother, when they're home for Christmas, but they do have that right. You, as comics, also have the right to say, I don't agree with your rules, so I'm kicking you out of my career. I'm not performing at your venue. That's the answer to that. And if everybody does that, then that's no longer a comedy venue. Hopefully, you find some middle ground where comics are free to express themselves and take chances and say some things that people might find offensive, and also not break foundational rules of whatever, like, this venue's mission statement is or something like that. Like, I don't know. I don't want to find exceptions to the rules. I'm sure there are plenty, and I can think of a couple, but it's a foundational principle. If you knuckle under to the demands of some bureaucrat who's telling you what you can and cannot say as a comic, why even do this? Is that guy going to come over and look at your material before you go up, or sit there when you're writing it? We live in a free country. The beauty of comedy and sculpture and books and paintings is that people can say and do whatever they want, as long as it's not against the law. And businesses can say, oh, yeah, you can do that. You just can't do that here. And you can say, okay, we won't do it here. If you're a comic and you find yourself in this predicament and you are the person kind of leading that push against these types of policies, realize it's not going to be easy, because they're going to try to really hurt your career and slander your name. And, you'll have other comics, like I said, who may defect. You gotta stay strong and realize in the end it's easier to look yourself in the mirror, because it is a courageous thing to do. It's easier to just go along, 100%. I've made a lot of stands in my career for other people where I didn't even benefit, and I paid the price for it. But you know what? I like who I am. I get to be me. And I'll take that over just sitting there and letting this nonsense happen. That's it for this episode. I hope this was helpful to you. If anybody there watching or listening knows the book that Ralphie May mentioned Rich Williams in, let me know. I'm going to go buy it, order it on Amazon, whatever. And I hope you subscribe to the channel. I hope you hit the notification bell. I make one of these every single day. Starting January 20th, it'll be my 100th episode. And I'm going to start doing comedy again from scratch. So I invite you to follow along. And I'm not going to sell you a book or a course. I'm first and foremost a comedian and a writer. I'm doing this because I love comedy. And I want to help fellow comics, because comics always help me out. See you next time.